Thank you to the Three Principles Global community for offering these conversations. These webinars are intended to support community conversations on the quotes of Sydney Banks. If you're not familiar with the Three Principles Global community, it is a nonprofit organization committed to disseminating the understanding of the three principles as discovered by Sydney Banks. The three principles point toward the true source of human experience. Insightful realization of the three principles allows anyone to understand how all human experience is created and to glimpse into the very nature of that creative source. These insights uncover our natural resilience, innate feelings of well-being, and our natural connection and access to a universal wisdom found within everyone. The website is 3pgc.org. Okay, so the Sid quote that I would love for us to look at today is, all you have to do is realize that the past is now only a ghostly memory kept alive by digging into the archives of your stagnated memories. And I'll read it again. All you have to do is realize that the past is now only a ghostly memory kept alive by digging into the archives of your stagnated memories. So when I read this quote, and I'll read it one more time, I'll share what came to me when I reflected on it. So again, the Sid quote is, all you have to do is realize that the past is now only a ghostly memory kept alive by digging into the archives of your stagnated memories. And what occurred to me in thinking about that, or just what came to mind, was that the uniqueness that everybody has different memories, especially people we've shared history with. They may remember an occasion, but they remember it uniquely to themselves. But we think we share it. And that I love what he said about the stagnated part. And oftentimes I think in the three principles, from all the other looking and seeking and exploring anything that helps us understand more about ourselves and life, it's typically supported to look at the past and to dig into your database of memories. And when you come along with the principles, and you, at least for me, I got a very fresh understanding of the role that memories were playing, and also the opportunity to really see that memories are thoughts carried forward to this moment. It's not a reflection of this moment, but it's thoughts carried forward into this moment. And it contaminates this moment. From my perspective, it really contaminates what was once clear. And I think in my own exploration, I'm really looking to have less on my mind. Just to always try to have, just to drink less of my own Kool-Aid, whether it comes in the form of the past or concern about the future, or just to really see that get the opportunity to wake up that I'm in my thinking. I'm not in my life, I'm in my thinking. And I don't know why. I don't know why the appeal of stagnated resonates so high with me right now.
It was interesting actually, because listening to watching and listening to the simple premise videos on the course. Somebody said the other day about being curious about what our thoughts are doing in terms of the feeling that we're getting from our thoughts. And I had a memory, I had a very, very close, probably my closest friend died about 10 years ago, very young. She was only 42. And I had a memory just come up, can't remember even what it was, just a couple of days ago. And I thought, I could get curious about this. Because I think sometimes I really cherish the memories, but sometimes I feel bad about what happened because, her diagnosis wasn't picked up quickly enough, therefore she died so young. And I just literally felt a bit curious about it and thought, well, I could either go down that path of how awful it was and what we went through leading up to her death, or I could kind of celebrate her life in my memory instead of letting it go down there. And it was over quite quickly as well. I didn't get into it, but maybe that connects a little bit to that word stagnation that you're saying is talking to you, because perhaps by being curious about it, I wasn't letting the memory stagnate. I was just exploring it a little bit about, why did she suddenly come to me, and, how did I want to treat that memory? So that was my thought.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
For me, what comes to mind is, since I getting to know the three principles, there's a big difference in how I allow myself to think about the past. Well, as before, I will think about it and dwell on it and become stagnant, almost in a way it will paralyze me and control the way I live my life, almost, because I would look through the lenses of the past. Well, it's now that I have the understanding that stagnant part is gone and has become like you're free now. And if it makes sense to move forward with your life, your past hasn't changed, but just obviously taking responsibility in how I allow myself to think about it has changed. So that's what comes to mind to me when I think about it. Yeah.
I love that too, because I think it's like the jailer with the key. If we keep them alive as if we're living in that reality at this moment, it really does. We're like the jailer with the key. We're still in that it looks like we're still in the exact same place, or that life works exactly like today, like it did then. And you're the same person now that you were then. And I love the just really the awareness of, I love the awareness of choice, where you see that there's a choice to not have your head in that same space, and to also feel the possibility. When we talk about just rely on the feeling, I think it's so helpful to just rely on the feeling. So when memory comes, it's like, it just helps me see that I think it helps me see how I can use thought, how I can use memory, and how without understanding that, I would used it against me versus used it as a tool to support. Thank you.
I like a few things that he highlighted. The first thing, kind of tongue in cheek, is all you have to do.
Oh yeah.
Like, listen, all you have to do. This is really simple. Don't complicate it. This is all you have to do.
I love that. Yeah, I'm looking at it again. I love that. Yeah. And I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great if it said all you have to do, ... Like, okay, let's hang out and all you have to do, because I went right over there, Rick. That's great.
Yeah. And and the other one, of course, stagnation is such a huge word, because it evokes memory or visions of stale water, like a swamp, right? It's not, there's nothing fresh and new coming into it. It's just all old material. And it really highlighted, like, recently, within the last few months, my relationship with my dad has flipped 180 degrees. The only way I can explain it that way. Because I had realized that I was carrying around what I thought was a fresh photo of him holding up, kind of a thing. I there was a shift in a conversation that we were having where I got triggered, and I realized, oh my God, I'm actually holding up a faded, torn, old, stagnated photo of my father. And that's who I was dealing with, not who I was dealing with in the present moment, but this photo and all the memories of that photo, right? And realized that there was nothing fresh and new in this experience if I kept holding on to that. And although I can't put my finger on it, it was sort of like, everything happened after that was different. Like it just, and I was sharing this with another group, and I said, I kept looking for the old guy. I kept looking for him. I said, like, how come, even though there was a bit of a hint of triggeredness, if you want to call it that, but but it wasn't really there. It had no power, it had no energy behind it, other than I was kind of like, why am I not, like, this is interesting, this is really cool, like, and to have this new experience. Yeah, so great quote, very relevant. Thank you.
I love that analogy of it being a still photo, like a freeze frame of a moment in time, and how we can carry it forever when it was just a moment in time.
Yeah, and to realize that that was what I was reacting to, not to the moment. Because when I realized that, the conversation, the impact of the conversation shifted differently. I didn't look at it as at first I was taking it as blatant criticism and all this other kind of stuff. And then I realized it, like, no, wait a minute, he's bloody right. Like, this is this is kind of, when I saw it for when I took it away and saw it for what it was, like, got more present. And yeah, no, it was interesting, very interesting.
That really is a beautiful story, and I love that you didn't come at your dad with an agenda to try to figure something new out. That's what I love about this. The simplicity of doing less and how much comes forward, the less and less.
And that's a good point too, because I didn't go into it looking for something different. Like, I was just like, he lives with me, so it was sort of like an everyday thing that was happening, right?
Oh.
And and he's been here with for 3 years now, and yeah, like, I was bringing in my past relationship in our conversations, and he would say something and I'd fly off and do my childish thing, and but it was just something in that moment just made me sort of stop for a second, that pause before the cause, the pause before the response, just to realize, like, you're doing it again. Like, you're not going to have anything, like, this is not healthy, for one thing, and there's always an opportunity for a new experience. So I don't know what that will be like, and I learned that that's one of the things that is to let go of the expectation of what that experience might look like, because I don't have control over that part. I don't have control over the thoughts that are coming in me. Obviously, I don't have the control of when the experience comes up. I could hold on to it and then cherish it. And I think that's one of the quotes I love about Sid, is the one where he says, when you find yourself in a feeling, when you find yourself in a good feeling, it also, to me, translates to when you find yourself in any feeling, then the ... whatever you want to go from there, right?
That's why I think that, again, and part of the leverage of the principles is that when you really see that the cause of rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, where that's being held, the whole the whole dynamic of rinse and repeat when you think life is the same, but it's no, it's a rinse and repeat of your thinking, and then just there's so much leverage in knowing that anything that's rinsing and repeating as it looks fixed is just to know where that resides is leverage. Well, I just think that's fabulous. I mean, you get every day on the job opportunities if he's living with you. You know what I mean? It's not a once or twice a year thing. You're in an ongoing intensive, huh? That's beautiful.
I love the conversation. I love the quote. It's really bringing up facets of it I hadn't really considered before. It's beautiful. But what came to my mind when you first read it was not, I mean, the concept is, yeah, this is all about my past, the stagnant past, and that. But what came to my mind is my experience now. When I get triggered, that pause before the cause, it's like as soon as that trigger starts coming up, and I realize I don't have to go here. I don't have to continue this feeling. That the only thing that keeps it going is continuing to refer to that moment that was only moments ago. I've got plenty of stuff that's probably even the thing that I got triggered. It's probably tied to something years ago. But in the moment, it's even just seeing that, gosh, if I keep holding on to what I thought 10 seconds ago, 30 seconds ago, 10 minutes ago, I'm going to keep having this. And to just realize, oh, that's all it is. And in that recognition, just what you're saying, in the recognition, leveraging that understanding, that brings me right back to now, and the whole thing changes. The conversation is completely different with your dad, just because it's from that other perspective. It's not filtered through the past, filtered through what happened either just a few moments ago or decades ago. Those filters, if I'm seeing life through anything in the past, I'm not in the present anymore, and gee, it's not so much fun.
Totally, yeah.
And the feeling, I mean, the contrast of the feeling, it is like magic. It's the alchemy, isn't it? It's like, how could I be so intense, so contracted and so sure that something's wrong here? And like that, oof, it's like, gosh, life has never been better. That's magic. It's just so amazing. I love this.
The sweetness of the feeling that came over from this new place, how it happens for me is it has a sweetness that I didn't know existed before. Like it wasn't like I had a memory of a past sweetness, but when something that pure happens and you kind of pick your head up in a really just such a fresh feeling. It's like I didn't know that existed or could exist in that space. And not that I was looking for it, and not that I know it kind of gets surprising, because it really comes in sweeter than I could have ever imagined it could be. Or it feels more peaceful, or it feels more something than I could have ever imagined before.
And what just occurred to me is that sweetness is there because there's a contrast of what was there just a moment before. So how it's experiencing that full range of life that allows me to really appreciate the sweetness that's always available in the moment. So it's almost like there's a gift in my forgetting, in my going back to the past, to set me up for that next move forward. So it's like I guess everything in nature always expanding, contracting. And as we're expanding and contracting, it's not just the same old, but it's a process that's actually moving us into this, what Sid talks about, that greater state of consciousness. It's through this process. I get shut down and I realize, oh, this is how it works. And so I've gone through that cycle again. But when I come out, the analogies don't really work, but I'm farther down the road, or my consciousness has expanded or whatever. It's like, what a crap. life is, how it works. I didn't used to want, I used to want to figure out how to avoid the contraction. But now it's like, oh, and this does occur occasionally. When I get in that real tight place, there's a little voice in my mind that goes, hey, there's some gold here. This is going to be good. You know? Instead of the old voices that we got to figure out how to never experience this again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's really cool.
That's beautiful, Bill. That's beautiful. I think they're living in that place of like, and the old me was like my it was a full-time job to not feel bad. You know, I don't want to feel bad. I gotta work and not what do I have to do to not feel bad? Not knowing that it could just come and go and come and go.
Good evening,
Hello.
everybody. Lovely to sit back and listen to the great conversations. Oh, there's so many quotes and there's so much wisdom in every little word that Sid said that is incredible to spend time discussing it. What came to me was a story about a guy who lost his memory, and after the event, it's how do you engage with life, and how do you engage with, you know, not knowing who you are, what you were like, what you used to do, what you used to like to do, what you used to like to eat. And I find that concept really interesting, and I think it connects really nicely with what Sid's trying to say. Yeah, I think that we grow up absorbing all this information from everything that happens around us, all the experiences. And then that's how we then try to maneuver and survive within this world and connect or not connect and create belief systems and not belief systems. And I think it's finding the balance of, okay, so we need to have information so that we can actually engage in this world, this physical form that we're in. So we can have an understanding of what's a door, what's not a door, what's a human being, what's not a human being, all those concepts that are essential for us to be able to, you know, to survive and to live. And for me, I think it's the evolution that comes to mind of how do we use that, but not get involved in the old stagnated things. It's how do we use the our mind and our tool and our wisdom, because we always have to rely back to memory, to go back to that database. We always have to go back to, okay, so that's a door, therefore I know how to use the door, which is really important. But also, it's not having the judgments of that door, either from a positive or a negative perspective. That's a concept that I find really interesting and fascinating, and the space that I'm trying to play at.
Just stick to the facts, not the interpretation. I think that's a fun way of kind of play dragnet, you know, just stick to the facts. Sometimes it gets cleaner.
Hello.
Hi.
It's the first time that I joined a grounding group. I just signed up for the apprentice practitioner program this month, a week ago, a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I just wanted to say hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. So I guess that before I joined you read a passage from one of Sid's books.
I did. Let me read it again so you can, if you'd like for me to read it.
Yeah.
All you have to do is realize that the past is now only a ghostly memory kept alive by digging into the archives of your stagnated memories.
Can I share something that I experienced today with keeping the 5 principles in mind? I started watching the videos of A Simple Premise. I watched the first 2 lessons this past few days, and Aaron Turner mentions how it is important to keep the orientation towards the principles as principles. And I did that this afternoon while I was having many negative thoughts about circumstances that I have right now. And I was feeling them and feeling in a low mood. And I said, well, okay, this might just be my thoughts. Let's just be open to that possibility. And throughout the afternoon and the evening, it was kind of on and off. I suddenly, all the bad mood would just go away, and I was on the street, and I would even feel like sprinting out of joy. And then it would kind of come back. But sometime, I think an hour ago or so, it just dawned on me. Again, nothing new by the words I'm going to use, but it dawned on me that all these things that were worrying me were thoughts and not things that are happening in my life right now. And it was quite a weight off my shoulders. Yeah, and I had a conversation with, I live with my parents. I had a conversation with them a little bit about, they didn't know yet that I signed up for the apprenticeship. Started sharing with them some of the things I'm learning this, what happened this afternoon. And it was great because I just left the conversation to join here, and we left in very beautiful feeling. That is, it's great because, it's my parents, and sometimes I do me, they do them, and it's easy to like disconnect. But that was great. So that's the story.
That's a huge light bulb moment coming into the principles to for no good reason, noticing that where that reality is coming from, and the distinction between life in real time and, as Sid says, the reality my thoughts are painting.
And it's funny how in the so I came across the principles a year ago, perhaps a bit more, and since then I just kept something that stayed with me. Well, it's just exactly the same thing that I said now, but more, it stayed with me more. It was more like something I do when I'm in a bad mood, not so much an understanding. Yeah, this again something else that came to mind.
I think this is so helpful for everybody. Like, I don't know, it was a conference in Minneapolis or something, 2013 or 14 or something. And I remembered hearing a bunch of people saying that, like, a big insight early in their finding the principles, and how for 10, 20, 30, 40 years later, that same insights keeps opening to another version of the same insight, in which you're getting more clarity, more understanding, seeing more around it. And not that is, I don't think it's a predictable thing, but I love the idea that when we really kind of get gobsmacked with an insight, that it can continue to be of great service for us in seeing and seeing and seeing and seeing and seeing more. Not even needing to have it on our mind, but somehow a flavor of it keeps going in service to us. Yeah, in service to us. That's beautiful.
Towards the end, you said not just a good feeling, but any feeling. And it was like ... And I'm curious about what you were meaning, because I don't know if I tuned out for a moment in prior to you getting to that point, or I just didn't. Yeah, I'm wondering if you can share that.
I'd be happy to. I just have to remember. No, that ... represents to me, and I've been playing with another sort of metaphor, from actually it's from Alice in Wonderland, more from the song. One pill makes you stronger, one pill makes you weaker, kind of a thing.
Mm.
And I'm seeing and feeling like the noticing and the feeling of particular thoughts, right? Kind of a thing. So I feel like, one thought makes me feel differently, like feel more light, more, and then other ones just feel withdrawn and small. And there's some things that I notice that expand me, and then some things that just kind of shrink me. And so that to me is the ... is to continuing to be the observer of what's happening in that moment with the thought or the feeling that's being sort of manifested, and how it's relating to, I don't know, just it's not my spiritual presence, let me just say, because it's not, I'm not getting any bigger, although my wife might disagree with that, but it's just that it spiritually it seems to expand, and then there's some things that you just kind of, it's like that feeling, like, I don't know if you ever have a conversation with somebody and you walk away and you feel like you're walking on clouds for some reason, and then you walk away from some conversations, and like I'm 6 feet, but sometimes I feel like I'm 5 feet, when I walk away from it. It's that connection to the feeling and thought. That's what I was referring to.
Thank you. Yeah. Like I'm getting this sense that there's a lot of noticing, like you really, yeah. I think part of maybe my, I don't know, confusion or misunderstanding is that there's like so nothing to do, like that not even noticing, and yet that's I don't know.
Well, it's like,
Yeah, I think I don't turn my attention enough in a direction to looking for something, and so my understanding of the principles is much slower, or I'm not kind of getting it, maybe because I've thought, oh, there's nothing to do, so I'll just kind of not think about it, not look for anything, and your awareness, you're really aware and noticing a lot, and that's really beneficial to.
And I'm not saying it happens automatically, like, or a conscious thing, because when I do notice, it's after the fact. So there really is nothing preventative that I can do in that sense. So I've even given up on that part. It's like, oh, I gotta be a better son. I gotta be, whatever. And the notion of just showing up in the moment and then responding accordingly, but also being open to, I feel it, and I love the fact that there is a pause. There's a feeling of it. And do I catch myself all the time? No. A lot of times my words come out faster than I can hold them back. However, I recognize that pause more and more. And I think it's just part of that practice of continually noticing feelings constantly. Like, and for me, it's almost gotten to the point where I'm watching a movie, and I was watching one this morning. And Christmas movies, really, I go through a roller coaster with Christmas movies, and and I found myself, just going through those emotions, just watching myself. Oh, look, I really got sad there, and I'm kind of smiling right now, and it's kind of like, and even knowing, like, even when you get scared, and my quote is not to be afraid of your experiences. That alone could change the world. That one is always been my all-time favorite, because that in essence is, if I'm not afraid of any experience, or if I'm not afraid of any feeling, I don't have to do anything about them.
Yeah.
Only when I'm afraid of them that it feels like I have to do something about them. So
yeah,
what occurred to me was the other said quote about thought being a divine tool, and how we can choose to use it. And I think in kind of just noticing what I kind of referred to as the flavor of my thinking, I feel like there's a choice point there, like if it's a tool and I want to use it, if it's a tool for me to use, it gives me a choice point. If I'm thinking about, I don't know about what, whatever. And knowing it's a tool, it helps me be more of a witness to what it's up to,
I think yeah, that part of us that is a witness is, and I'm thinking about my work with a client at the moment who's like so anxious, and I've only met her once, and it didn't feel like it was a very useful, and she didn't kind of see it as very useful, but she's agreed to meet again. But there is a part of her that can witness it. Otherwise, she couldn't speak about it, right? Like she couldn't speak about her anxiety unless there was a part of her that was seeing it, if you like. And yeah, I guess when I talk to her next, maybe that's something that seems right at the time. I want to invite her to notice that she's noticing. So it feels really helpful, that conversation. Thank you.
Anything else anyone has, something that's alive for them in the conversation?
From my experience about the three principles is I sort of went through a little bit of a roller coaster. I got the essence at the beginning and I went, wow, this is incredible. I can't believe it. So much truth behind it. And then my mind just went crazy. Said, brilliant. I need to learn this. I need to go and research it and study it, and became a really head experience. And I think I've probably really been aware of the three principles for about a year and a half. So as I sat back into it and I began more listening and spending time more with the feelings of life now, not with the feelings of thought before. And I think for me, that's the big change, the big awareness, that I spent so much time in my head thinking what it should be like. I was trying to imagine what fire would be by reading a book about it, rather than going next to it and experiencing and seeing it and noticing it and being there with it. I think that's very, very different. And I remember listening to a story very similar to that, where they talk that you can spend so much time learning about a subject, whatever it might be, but it's not until you go and experience it that you will actually then be. And I think just by being there is when you then begin releasing, enabling to release those natural essence, wisdom, energy, passion with nature, with whoever it is that you might be in front of at the time. That's what came to me.
That's beautiful. I think that's such a fresh feeling to go, to go back to that word of curiosity, but not from an intellectual place, but like being in life, in a moment in life, and kind of just being with that moment, just to see what the experience is of life in a moment, with without all the narration, without with just the sitting in a moment. It's like, gosh, I know we can only see through, we see through our thinking, but how clean could a moment be just to experience that moment and with less of me in it? I guess that's the way of putting it. What would a moment in time feel like with less of me in it?
Can I even offer more of you?
Yeah, totally. More of that, less of the fiction and more of the nonfiction. Just, yeah. Just to be in, to see, experience life from that place. I think the principles can be so gobsmacking because it wakes you up to just, wow, how much living living through your thinking has been happening.
I've started to realize I've been with the True Principles for a few years, but just like, yeah, sometimes I'll do like mindful meditations with my group. I'm a therapist in California, and just like I can stay with meditation longer, and I'm just like, I don't have to like go back to my thoughts because I'm not in my thoughts so much. I mean, just naturally you start to notice you're not in your thoughts so much, and that's really cool. Or just like noticing conversations with as a therapist to somebody is like I'm enjoying them more, and I feel lighter in those moments more. And it's just like it almost just kind of it hits you like, oh yeah, that is happening more. I didn't even realize it. So sometimes it just also you just like by the way, you're like, oh, okay, it is different, even worse than I thought. Yeah.
Yes, that's a great example. That is a great example.
Something came to mind for me.
Yes.
It's almost funny. Back in 2017, I did just a little weekend retreat with some therapist I was working with as a participant. And one of the exercises was to sit in the forest at night for, I don't know, I think we did like half an hour or so. And it struck me to look at the trees and see how it's kind of ridiculous, but they stay there the whole day. They don't move, nothing happens. And now, I mean, it's the same. We can't look at it look that way anything else. Like this laptop, if I leave the laptop here, it's just gonna stay here, nothing can happen. And I saw how just because of the fact that we go from one thing to another, from one thought to another, it looks like we live in a dynamic world, but actually nothing's happening anywhere. Yeah, just wanted to share that because this week also had a moment where I don't remember exactly where I was. But yeah, I was in a coffee shop. I think I was reading The Missing Link again, and for a moment it struck me again in a similar way that I've been sitting here. I have absolutely no idea what this room is like. I've been around in my things and I have no idea what's actually going on here outside the whole stuff that I've been thinking about. And it felt like the room lit up a little bit for 5 or 10 seconds. Yeah, what you said made me think about that.
Really noticing who's in front of you and listening to what's around you. And
that first quote I mentioned about when Sid said, when you find yourself in a beautiful feeling, when I focus on those first few words, when you find yourself in an experience, and it seems like, everybody's describing finding ourselves, like finding that authentic self in the experience, like in the moment, right? Like that, noticing and experiencing whatever you're experiencing in the moment, you're doing it authentically. Like you are, that is you, you're finding you in that experience. I'm resonating on this one right now, so I'm kind of
another really great point. Really great point. And that which woke, I think that which wakes us up to finding ourselves, you know what I mean? That was never in my intellect to, that just the magic of what wakes us up. The mysterious quality of life that wakes us up to a fresh place. This thing is just such a captivating mystery. I don't need to figure it out. I just love the fact that it's so hopeful that it's there to wake me up. And I love what you said about finding myself. Siobhan.
For me, it's like I find I have contentment now. I'm content. Is even if I don't know whatever actually happens now in life, whether it's good or bad, I'm just okay. I always know it's going to be okay, and not in a sense like I'm in denial or I have to always think positive or something like that. Just it's okay. It's going to be okay. When I have a thought, I know not a good thought is going to pass. So there's just always a sense of contentment that I did not have before. And also I noticed before there's some things that I naturally like doing. I find them easy. And then there were other things that I will put off, for example. But then now that I realize it's just how I think about these things now, and it's not that I like doing these things now. No. I'm being honest, but I still don't really like them. But I get them done because, well, as before I would have procrastinated, but now I get them done because I know, no, Siobhan, it's just how you think about it, but you can do it because it needs to be. I don't know if that makes any sense. And then I watched when I watched the videos with Aaron and everyone else that has done the premises of the principles, he said basically you can test it in anything. And I was smoking. And then I said, because my kids really don't like that, and I don't like that they don't like that I am smoking. But for whatever reason, I thought I can't stop. I'm addicted. So, and then I was like, but that's just how I'm thinking. So, and I thought, no, I needed to calm down. I needed for this, that I can't stop. I can't stop. Maybe I stopped slowly. And then I realized this is just how I'm thinking. It's still just thought. Just don't buy it. And then when the thought comes, let it pass. And I kept on doing that. I'm not saying it was like instant or easy, but instead of giving in to it and dwelling on the thought and then yes, I have to calm down or something, I just let it pass. Now it has been 2 weeks. I didn't smoke. And I was thinking, wow, they really work with everything. So yeah, I don't know. That's just some things that came to my mind.
Congratulations. Wow.
Thank you.
That makes perfect sense to me because I in one of those moments of, I don't know, whatever looked like it was really tough, and then in a flash, one day I got this fresh thought. It's like, somewhere this is easy. I know it's looking hard for me, but somewhere there's a reality out there where this is real easy and I could just get over myself and do it. And I was like, oh, wow. So I was like, okay, take me there. So, just knowing that there's a reality out there where this is easy or it's not a big deal, somewhere out there, it's not a big deal. It wasn't even a speed bump in their reality. I was like, oh, okay. Thank you very much for listening. There are abundant resources to learn more through the 3PGC website. You can also learn more by visiting my YouTube channel or my podcast, Connected Living, Truths and Understandings for the Business of Life.